What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're gonna be back to work on my 1965 Ford Mustang. As you guys seen in the previous episode, we got a lot of work done and we actually got some of the critical components on the car mounted up, such as this brake booster right here. Check it out, it's all mounted nice and perfect. It's not really moving around or anything like that. And we also built this little cage right here for it. It's like a nice little bracket and it just turned out amazing. It honestly looks OEM, just chilling right there. And then we also started mocking up the S2000 steering wheel in here. As you can see, this is just on a vice grip down there. We didn't really do anything because this is actually the steering column off the red S2000 that we have over there, and we can't really modify it. But the good thing is we did actually get one that we could modify, and it's actually sitting right there on that bench. And we also got this shifter nice and secure, and it looks freaking awesome. So in today's video, we are gonna be working on getting the steering fully situated. And check it out, here is the steering column we will be using. As you can see, it doesn't have the ignition on it anymore. It is actually cut off because this thing is for parts. So we picked this thing up from my brother over at Motorhead. Big shout out to him. You guys, make sure y'all check out his channel. Check this out. We will have to do a lot of modification. Well, not really a lot. Basically just have to remove this bracket right here and move it probably to here and then add another bracket right there, because there's no way to get that in through here, because the original Ford steering column is about this thick and it's just circular and it goes all the way down. But I really didn't want to use the original one because it's pretty bulky. And this right here is gonna be perfect because we are doing a lot of custom stuff on it. So the first thing we're gonna go ahead and do on this car is I wanna get the steering shaft perfectly set up. So that means we need to go ahead and strip this one down. As you can see, we have this bracket on right here. We're gonna remove everything off this steering shaft, including these turn signals, because we do not need them. We'll probably get some custom ones built later. We will keep the steering wheel on for now. After we remove that, we'll put the steering wheel back on because we wanna see exactly how it's gonna sit inside there. So let's go ahead and get all this stuff off this steering shaft. So we got everything off the steering shaft and it does spin nice and freely. We might need to do a little bit of greasing in here. So I can see there's a little bit of rust. Maybe it just needs to be cleaned out because I guess this thing was sitting around for quite some time. Now it's time to go ahead and just cut off all these brackets. I will probably save it, so I'm just gonna slice it right off at the weld. Then we can use the belt sander to finalize it all up. So let's get all these brackets off of here. So we got the entire steering shaft cleaned up, and man, let me tell you, without this belt sander, that would have been such a nightmare to do. Honestly, guys, if you don't have one of these in your shop, you're kind of missing out. It's super easy to use, very versatile also. Check it out, we got all the welds cleaned off, and I didn't cut this bracket off yet because maybe we'll still need that in the future. Not too sure about that. And I'll also leave this one on here too, just in case if we need to use that one. So now what we need to do is basically strip all this back down, get the steering wheel off, and possibly take the dashboard out because I do want to install a dash bar. So I got this bar right here, and this is basically what the steering shaft is going to be held on. So we're going to have to make brackets from this to the steering shaft. And we can also tie in this bar right here to the original bars that I have down there. If you can see that bar right there, and that comes in through here. So we can tie everything in, make everything a little bit stronger in the front. So let's go ahead and take everything out of the car. So we got the dashboard out, and now we get a better idea of how we're gonna do this. So basically we got this tube right here, and this is gonna get welded on to that area over there, and then same thing over here. And it's basically gonna give a lot more support right here because originally these dashboards don't have anything except the actual dashboard as itself. So this tube should add a little bit of structural rigidity to the car. And then we'll also tie in this tube with the tube down here. As you can see, that goes up and then it actually goes to the front end of the car. So I think that's gonna give it a lot of added strength to also, and then maybe we can even tee off and basically put another tube going up to the bar in the center, and now kind of just tie everything together. So let's go ahead and grab this tube, do some measurements, and get this bar fitted up in here. So guys, check it out. We got this dashboard back in there, and the bar is literally in the perfect area. It doesn't obstruct anything, and the dash fit in there good. We did have to do a little bit of trimming off the dashboard. This is one of the brackets that was holding it, which is kind of weak and flimsy. That's pretty crazy how that's literally all that was holding the steering rack on, was a little bracket like that. But we got that trimmed off. We got the steering rack back on there, and it fits up there pretty good. Look at that. All we're gonna have to do is literally sand this thing down, give it a nice paint job, and we won't have to do anything else to the steering rack. And I also went ahead and threw in this S2000 seat as a mock-up, and man, it kind of fits in there perfectly. I think we will go ahead and order some Brom seats. They're basically the same exact size for this car, and it's literally perfect. I think we will be able to lower it just a little bit, because as you can see, this seat is a little thicker down here. But I think if we get it without these brackets, I think we can get a lower seat, which is gonna be nice, because then we can lower the steering wheel down a little bit, because it is a little bit high right now. If we sit inside the car, well, I mean, it's kind of like perfect. Like, check that out. We can sit in the car. I mean, honestly, that looks like it's perfect. Maybe lower it just a little bit, because look, I'm pretty tall. But look, we have good enough room down here for the gas pedal, and then the clutch pedal. We will have to move this brake pedal to the center, which is okay, because I got a really cool idea for that. And bam, the gear shifter's right here. So everything is lining up awesome. So now that we know the bar fits in here perfectly, we're gonna go ahead and remove the dashboard. We can grind down the surface and get it welded fully onto the body. And that's gonna give the entire dash area a lot more strength than it did, because as you guys know, originally there was nothing but this flimsy dashboard in there. So let's go ahead and remove the dashboard and get it welded up fully. So we got the bar welded in, and I also went ahead and threw in the dashboard just so some of you guys wouldn't think that the bar was way too low. And as you can see, it's all the way tucked underneath the dashboard, and there's no really way to hit your foot on there. Let's say even if I get an accident, your foot's gonna hit this, or it's gonna hit something down there. So I just wanna clarify, because I know somebody was already typing saying that bar, whenever you get an accident, you're gonna break your leg in half on that bar. Now we just need to work on getting the steering shaft mounted onto there, and we are gonna use the original bracket that we have right here. So let's go ahead and do some thinking and get this steering shaft mounted to that bar. So the way we're gonna mount this steering shaft is actually pretty simple. So we have the original bracket right here that we sliced off the steering shaft, and all we need to do is drill 2 holes in the steel bar and basically put bolts through it, and then we can bolt this on, and then we can slide the steering shaft up and down to see exactly where we want it after we put the seat in and start calculating all the positions. So let's go ahead and get this steering shaft mounted onto this bar. So we finally got the steering set up exactly how I want it in the car. Check it out, I even built this temporary bracket, and that's where the factory steering shaft bolted onto this dash, which I think is kind of flimsy. There's no dash bar in there, but good thing we got a dash bar in there, and we got the steering all set up. I also went ahead and threw the seat in, and I think we probably will have to get rid of this big old hump right here. And the coolest part about setting up the steering is I'm actually setting it up exactly how it is set up in my McLaren. I know they're 2 totally different cars, but I love how the steering wheel is in this car, and I love the height of it. So we're setting it up kind of similar just to how it's set up in here. I mean, I've driven this thing probably like 1,700 miles, and I loved every minute of it. And now that we got that steering all nice and set up, let's go ahead and drill the holes for the bracket and get that steering fully situated. So we got the steering wheel all lined up, and check it out. I also went ahead and bolted it on, and then I threw a couple of tack welds down there just to keep it in position, and it's already pretty sturdy. So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and take it off, put it on the workbench, and fully weld all those brackets up. So we got everything nice and welded up, and I also went ahead and ground down. There was another bracket that was sticking off right here, and it was a little pointy, so I grounded it all down. And check it out, the steering shaft is ready to be fitted in the car. Now we do have a little bit of a dilemma here, which I don't really want to use this spline right here. I do have the output shaft somewhere. Oh, the output shaft is right here. Check this out. This is from the original S2000, and this slides in here like this. Check that out. Bam, that slides in there just like that. And what I'm thinking about doing is actually replacing this U-joint right here with the one I bought off eBay, because it does convert a spline to just the 3/4 inch shaft, which I do have one of those. And I already went ahead and ordered a U-joint that will fit onto the actual steering rack down there. And basically all we have to do is make the connection from here through that hole into the steering shaft, and the steering will be done. So I went ahead and put the steering wheel on and the column back inside the car, and everything is lining up good. I also ordered a new steering wheel with a quick release hub, which is going to go right here. And we're really not going to mess with anything else on the steering column until we get further in the build, because I'm not sure, maybe we'll add something on there, maybe we won't. We'll have to just see in the future. But we got all that hooked up. Unfortunately, we can't actually hook it up to the steering rack just yet, but we ordered the right U-joint and it should be here pretty soon. Now what we're going to focus on is getting the gas pedal lined up. So we're going to be using a factory Ford gas pedal from a Mustang GT. Most standalone ECUs actually use the original gas pedal, and I know the Holley uses it, and then the Ford Performance uses it, and then everybody that does their custom harnesses also use the original Ford Mustang gas pedal, which is cool because this thing actually fits in here perfectly. Let me show you guys, see if you can see in here. But check this out, that's the firewall right there, and it literally goes perfectly onto the firewall, which is crazy. I don't know how that worked out, but let's go ahead and drill some holes and get this gas pedal fully mounted in here. So check it out, we got the gas pedal mounted. I mean, it was pretty easy. It was literally just 3 bolts, and somehow it fit up perfectly on the firewall. And check that out, we have perfect clearance right there. I did space it out a little bit so it's not too close to the transmission tunnel, and there is still a lot of space for the clutch, the brakes in the center, and the clutch on the side. But man, guys, this thing is coming together. Look, we got the steering all situated, we got the gear shifter situated. The only thing we are gonna have to start working on once we get the parts are the brakes. So we're gonna have to move the brakes from here a little bit over here, not too big of a deal. I did order some Heim joints and some rods so we can move the brakes over. And then the clutch should be pretty simple because it's just gonna be mounted on the floor just like this right here. So yeah, guys, this thing is coming together. There is light at the end of the tunnel after all. And then over here, we're just gonna order some gauges, and that's pretty much everything we're gonna have. I think I will get a aftermarket head unit with like a display so we can have like extra gauges, and then everything else can just be factory. And that's pretty much everything on the dashboard. And I am gonna get an AC kit, which will fit back there, which will just be given a little bit of AC in here. I think they sell universal ones, because I don't think the original one from the Mustang will fit in here after all the modifications we've done. We have to build a bigger transmission tunnel to get that big 6-speed transmission in it, but man, it's coming together pretty good. So now that we have everything situated inside the car, and I mean, pretty much after we get the steering shaft hooked up, the brakes hooked up, everything else in the interior will be pretty simple. I mean, we're gonna buy everything brand new. Just needs a dash pad in there, maybe get a radio. I'll definitely order some gauges in the coming time. And we'll also get the AC system. This thing is gonna have AC, so don't worry about that, guys, because I mean, it is hot in Tennessee. Right now it's like 100 degrees here, but now that we have the interior pretty much all situated, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the fuel system. So as you guys know, we did get this fuel cell right here, and I was wondering how to install it, and I looked at a bunch of other people's cars, and you do have to have this area right here basically pointing back, so whenever you hit the gas is still flowing back in here. That's why this is kind of like a dip. So what we're gonna have to do is actually cut a hole right here in this panel that we installed. Cut a hole right here, basically perfect for that. So I'll probably make a cardboard template for that, cut the hole out, and then we can go ahead and drill some holes and get this fuel tank mounted in, so that once our fuel lines and our fuel pump comes in, we'll pretty much be able to run this car. I mean, we're getting pretty close to getting this car to be able to drive up and down the roads. I mean, and we will start on the front end here soon. I'm kind of like moving around from place to place, so I can knock out one thing, maybe we have to order some stuff, then we can move on to other stuff, and then once those parts come in, we can go ahead and get started on that. So it's kind of like a waiting game. So let's go ahead and get this fuel tank mounted in here properly. So the fuel cell is perfectly mounted inside the trunk. We got it all bolted down. I do need to get some more bolts because I didn't have no washers, and we definitely need to get some washers. And maybe we even need to put like a piece of rubber right there so it's just not on metal to metal, because you know how aluminum is on metal, especially with vibrations and stuff. It could rub through the tank in some areas. Unfortunately, we won't be able to use this snout right here, which kind of sucks. But honestly, it's gonna be a cool conversation piece whenever you're filling your trunk up with gas. But yeah, guys, the fuel system is ready to go. I will build a little cover for this area right here after we get our AN fitting lines and our fuel pump, so then we can run the lines and then build the cover around it. So guys, there we have it. We have the fuel tank mounted. We got the steering wheel mounted. This car is coming along. Hopefully in the next video, we will be able to get the brakes fully situated. I also went ahead and ordered some brake calipers, some brake rotors, so we'll be able to make the brake lines, make everything, hook everything up properly. And also the U-joint for the steering will be here. So guys, stay tuned. Next episode, we're basically gonna have this car moving and able to stop on its own power. And I think we will even be able to hook up the clutch. We can hook up the brake. As you can see, we got the gas pedal in here. So, I mean, the car is slowly coming together, slowly but surely. But this is part of the build where we're gonna have to do a little bit of waiting on some parts. But you know what, guys? Everything is coming along nicely. We also went ahead and ordered some seats, so we can pretty much finish up the entire interior. And a company actually reached out to me, and we are gonna be doing a full sound deadening kit in this car, so we can sound deaden everything and then start working on the interior, which is gonna be pretty simple. I mean, on the sides right here, there's just panels that go right there. I don't know if we're gonna have back seats just yet, because I mean, it's kind of like a race car, and who knows, we probably don't want to have 4 people in this car while driving, because a lot of you guys say it's a death trap, so it's going to be a 1-person car for now. And we also will start working on getting the radiator in here, get the fans wired up, get all that, because we have to start thinking of power. We're probably going to put the battery in the back of the car instead of the front, just to give it that more clean look, and then we can just run a battery cable from the back to the front, so we can hook it up to the starter and everything like that. But guys, I wanted to give you guys a little update on the Fastback Mustang, so let's go outside and check it out. So guys, a little update on the Fastback Mustang. This thing has just been sitting outside for quite some time. I mean, it got a little bit of rust on it, but I gotta admit, this Dynacorn primer that they put on here holds up pretty good. But guys, this is the end of the era. As you guys know, we tried using Corvette suspension to build this new frame for this car, but that really just didn't work out. And honestly, I could just buy a floor pan and basically buy all OEM stuff, but actually I got a guy coming out here to buy this thing today. I think it's time to give up on these Mustang builds. I think we're gonna finish up the 65 in there and maybe move on to something else, because honestly, I gotta think of stuff that makes me more money and is actually fun to do, instead of stuff like this with just a lot of stress, and kind of makes me not want to do this stuff anymore. But guys, let's gonna be a farewell to this one, which kind of sucks. I'm kind of sad to see it go, but honestly it'll clear up this area a little bit, and maybe we can start putting cars on this pad right here, because it was taking up a lot of area right here, and it's kind of an eyesore right now because it's just sitting here with no body panels or anything like that. But anyways guys, that's a little update on the Fastback. So there it is guys, the Mustang is finally gone. It's going to a new owner, which he's gonna use that car to convert a regular notchback. And I think he's gonna get more use out of that car than I got out of it just sitting over there. I actually gave him a pretty good deal on the parts. They were a little bit rusty. I cut them up a little bit. But honestly guys, it's always good to see somebody that's gonna take those car parts and build something out of it. And maybe later in the future, maybe down the road, we'll buy another Fastback, but who knows? And here's a little update on the truck. It's kind of just been sitting outside for now while we were working on the Mustang. But cool thing is, I do have somebody that we're doing a sponsored video with the company, and we are getting all the rest of the parts for this car. So hopefully once those come in, we can literally hop back on this truck and knock it out pretty quick, because we do need a tow rig. We'll buy a trailer, and then we'll have a nice Dodge Ram as a tow rig, and I think it's gonna work out pretty nice. So guys, that's gonna be a wrap for today's video. Hopefully in the next episode, we'll have this car with brakes, we'll have it with steering, we'll probably even start assembling everything, because there's still a lot of stuff we have to finish up, like little brackets we have to make before the final painted product. But if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, follow us on Instagram at VTune. Thanks for watching.